Today I'm previewing every team going into the 2024 AFL season. Let's get into it. So I'm going to do bottom to top in ladder order. So first, West Coast and North. I'll do them together because I think they're just both going to have another rebuilding year. Both teams will only have about 3 to 4 wins max. The young guys, West Coast, Harley Reid, and then for North, McKercher and Dersma, they're going to be exciting first-year players. Something to look forward to for the fans. But other than that, both teams have lost a little bit of experience, and I think, they're just going to stay mutual this year. Both another rebuilding year for each team. The Hawks, they finished 16th in 2023, and I think they are going to have a very dark horse sort of a year. I reckon they're going to push the 8 simply for the fact that the start of 2023, they basically had their team gutted of all their experience and turned into the youngest team in the league. So, I mean, people like this season are going to think they're a bottom 4 team, but the way I look at it, they essentially lost their 6 months experienced players going into the season, replacing them with first and second year players. So that's always going to be like a learning curve. But I think with the young core of Newcomb, Day, Warple, Weddle, Nash, CJ, Scrimshaw, Dylan Moore, Mitch Lewis, there's so many names, and that's not even mentioning the new guys like Chol, Watson, Ginnivan, D'Ambrosio, and just Gunston brings a bit of experience. And I also think that they've improved depth-wise. So with Chol and Gunston, there's more size in the forward line, which they were definitely lacking last year. Cole provides more ruck assistance for Reeves, and obviously their forward line got an upgrade. So I think the Hawks will definitely be a much better team in 2024. The Suns, look, I think they're not going to get worse, but they're not necessarily going to get better. I think people have them sort of pushing the 8/making the 8 because they have an easy fixture this year, and the new coach in Hardwick, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to be a bottom 4 team again, and if not, they're still going to be a bottom 6 team. So I think it's just going to be another poor year for the Suns, and not a lot to look forward to for the supporters, I don't think. The Dockers, look, they lost Schultz in the off-season and they didn't really replace him or gain anyone extra. They were very mid and not that good last season, and I think it's going to be the same this season. Most likely a bottom 4 finish, and just another mid to not very good team. The Tigers, I think Richmond are on the decline in 2024. I think they're going to be worse, most likely a bottom 4 finish. Rewalt and Cochin retired. They didn't really pick up anyone good in the off-season, and I think their forward line's lacking a little bit other than Lynch. So, sort of other than Dusty, I don't think anyone's going to have any interest in the Tigers in 2024, unfortunately. So, but that's sort of what happens after you have a premiership dynasty and win 3 grand finals. You've got to have your time at the bottom again at some point. But that's the Tigers for next season. The Cats, so obviously an old team. They have been for the last couple of seasons. They won the grand final in 2022 and took a pretty big drop-off in 2023. I think they're not necessarily going to get worse considering their age, because Geelong are one of those teams that just is never bad. Like, they never missed the finals 2 seasons in a row. I think they've only missed the finals 3 or 4 times in the last 20 years. Something stupid like that. But I don't think they'll make the finals, but I think they would probably have the same amount of wins as 2023 and sort of just stay level. Essendon, oh damn it, sorry, you get those photos mixed up sometimes. My mistake. Oh, there we go. Okay, so the Bombers going into the season, they definitely overachieved this season. But at the same time, I think they had 11 wins. They were sort of 1 to 2 wins of making the finals. And they were competitive with Port, I think with Melbourne, with Collingwood. They weren't a bad team, especially at the start of the season. But the last sort of month and a half, they sort of just they got smashed by the Giants and the Pies. And then they only just beat the Kangaroos and the Eagles. So, everyone's saying this sort of... Some people say they're going to push the 8. Some people I see saying they're going to be bottom 4 again, even though they've got new players. But I think they're probably going to be just another mid team. They're not going to get worse, but they're not necessarily going to get better because they overachieved this season. So realistically, I reckon they're just going to be the last 3 out of 4 teams I've said. They're just going to be another mid team. They're going to beat the worst teams, lose to the best teams, and just stay stagnant. So the Adelaide Crows now, last season, they probably should have made finals if it wasn't for the Sydney game. And other than that, they were competitive with the D's, the Pies, the Power, like a lot of the better teams this season. And I think next season with the young players like Rochelle, Rankin, Dawson, like they're all just going to get a little bit better. The whole team's going to get all round better because of it. And I could definitely see them winning 14 games. They're definitely going to make the 8. But the question is whether they sort of push to 4th, 5th position or they just sneak into the 6th or 7th spot. But I think they're going to be a fun team to watch. The Bulldogs. So, in my opinion, they're going to take the biggest step back in 2024. I think they're just too inconsistent. And just little things, just looking into 2023, little things like in the last month they lost to the Hawks and the Eagles, which sort of cost them a finals run. And also this season they beat the Lions, Giants, Blues, Crows and Cats in the last round. And for Geelong, that was like an irrelevant game to them anyway because they weren't making the finals. So that's 5 games. I don't think they're winning this season. Just another. They're going to be really mid going into the season. They're going to be they'll beat the lower level teams, but they'll sort of get smashed by the top level teams, in my opinion. But another rough season for the Doggies. The Swans. So I don't think they're going to get better, but I think they're going to get worse. They got their captain Mills is out, I think, for the first over a month of the season. Buddy's retired. Yes, they got Taylor Adams and I think Jordan Dawson in the off season, but I think people think because of the 2022 grand final that they just had an off season. I think they overachieved 2022 and sort of fell back to earth this season. Even though I think they'll definitely be pushing the 8. They're not going to be a mid-level team. They'll finish 9th or 10th at worst. But I think they're just going to make minor improvements. Little baby steps towards making it up the 8 and sort of pushing the top 4. But I think it's going to be a very competitive league this season, and Sydney are going to fall sort of between top 6 and middle 6, that area, sort of between 6 and 9. I reckon they'll fall. But that's the Swans for 2024. The Giants, the second half of the season, they did extremely well. I think the Giants and the Blues were bottom 4 after 14 or 15 games, something stupid. Ended up making the prelim. Only lost by a point to the eventual reigning premiers in Collingwood. So, look, they're definitely going to have a good season. They're definitely going to make finals. But the question is, do they push the top 4? Or was this season, the back half of this season, a bit of a fluke and they sort of stay in that, 7 to 9 area? But, definitely in the second half of the season, they're a completely different team. But, to be honest with you, I didn't watch a lot of GWS in 2023. So, I know Toby Green, Tom Green, Ward, Kelly, the main few players. But my opinion is completely off on this one. Don't have to go with me. The Saints, so I think they overachieved this season. They're sort of falling in the Bulldogs category of being pretty mid, in my opinion. They they don't score a lot, they don't concede a lot of points, but they sort of only just beat the Eagles and the Roos, and they lost to the Hawks. And I think they're going to take a drop off next season. They're going to be one of those mid teams. I don't think they're going to make the top 8, in my opinion. But they're going to be just another very average team going into 2024. The Blues, so I think the Blues are going to have a better season in 2024 than 2023. I think they had a pretty bad start to the year, the first 2 months or so. I think they'll sit in the bottom 4 halfway through the season or something ridiculous like that. Ended up making a prelim. I think they kicked the first 5 goals against the Lions in the prelim in Brisbane. So, they're obviously a good team. I think they will be pushing the top 2. I think, they'll be a good team this season. They will be in the prelim, or possibly be in the prelim again. And, good young core. Curnow, Walsh, Cripps obviously, Wiedering. They have good small forwards, in my opinion, or at least decent small forwards. And, I think they're going to make a push for the top 2 to top 3 on the ladder in 2024. The D's, so I think the D's, they're a bit weird this season. They got taken out of the finals in straight sets, I think, second year in a row. They're arguably the top 2 or 3 player in Oliver. Is a bit, who knows what's happening with his health going into the season. I've seen a few things saying he might not start the season, he might not play round 1, but who knows. I think if he does play round 1, he's fit. The D's are definitely in for another top 4 season. But I've also seen a few people say that Melbourne might fall out of the 8. It might be that one team that just, has a bad season. They just need to reset themselves almost, which they shouldn't have to because they won a grand final a couple of years ago. But I think Gorn is going to be good again this season. Track is going to be in the contention for a Brownlow. They got a solid team. I think who was out for the season? I think Melksham. I could be wrong, but I think Melksham's only ACL. Could be out for the first bit of the season, which could hurt because he's decent. But I think they're not going to be as good. They're definitely not going to be as good as this season. I think they might drop off slightly, like maybe by only like 1 to 2 games max, wins wise on the ladder. But I think they'll probably finish again between 4th and 6th if they have a bad season. But yeah, they're still going to be good next season. But yeah, that's the D's. Power. So the Power, they definitely overachieved this season. They're still a good team. I still think they'll be pushing for the top 4 again this season, but they had a massive win streak this season, which is probably uncommon. I think they had like 10 wins or more. I remember off the top of my head. It's probably research, but they definitely had a big win streak. Rosie, Butters, Hall and Francis are a great young midfield, arguably one of the best in the comp going into 2024. And I think when I say they overachieved, I don't necessarily think they're going to have a worse season this season, but I think they could be the same as Melbourne. They'll probably finish 1 to 2 wins less than they did this season, max though. Like I don't think they're going to be top 2, but I don't think they're going to fall out of the top 4. And if they do, they'll be like 5th place. So yeah, I didn't watch a lot of Port this season, but when I did, they were good to watch. So yeah, I think they'll have a decent season this season, the Power. The Lions, so I think Brisbane will have another successful season. I think they'll be top 2, top 3 again this season. Obviously, they have the Brownlow medalist, controversial win, but he got it, so we'll give it to him. But I think they've lost a bit of depth. I think they lost. Ashcroft's going to be out for most of the first half of the season. They lost Gunston, which isn't big, but it's depth, especially experienced depth and finals experience. And I think they lost one other key position player. Could be wrong, but yeah, I think they're going to be slightly worse. They're going to fall into the category of Melbourne and Port wins-wise. I think they don't get more wins. I think they finish 1 to 2 wins or worse at like the maximum for 2024. But I think they're still going to be a top 2 team to top 3 team. And they're going to be pushing for another flag in 2024. The Pies, so obviously the reigning premiers, the Dacos boys, they're just probably the best team in the comp going into next season again. I think losing Taylor Adams, McStay is going to be injured, and they lost Ginnivan as well. I think that, accompanied with the fact that Pendlebury, Sidebottom and Howe are sort of like on the wrong side of 30, so I think that's just going to have a little impact on the team. I still think they're going to be a top 2-3 team at worst. I think they're going to fall into the same category as the Lions, D's and Power. I think they're going to have a very successful season, but they'll probably finish the season 1 to 2 wins worse in 2023, simply because I think the league's just going to be a little bit closer. And probably the most exciting team to watch last season going into this season. Nick Dacos takes the next step, if he even can do that, if he hasn't hit his peak already. And who else did they get in the off-season? Sorry, they got Schultz in the off-season, which is an upgrade from Ginnivan, which I think is definitely going to help them. And that's sort of a few young players like what's his name, McCurry or whatever his name is, and what's his name, Johnson, a couple other young guys, Bobby Hill. They're a solid team. They're probably going to be the best team in the comp again this season, if not the second best. So that's the Pies. So that was a little preview of each team going into the 2024 season. This is my first video on YouTube, so I just wanted to make it, a short minute or so on each team just to start off. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll also be doing more in-depth reviews on each team. So if you want me to do your team first or next or whenever you see this video, just comment your team and I'll do them in priority.